Yeah, hello and welcome to today's webinar, Beyond Awareness, Digital Out of Home for Performance. My name is Ricky Bijlani. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing here at AUDIENCEX. I just want to thank you all for taking a bit of your time today to join us. I'm going to give this another minute to just let people finish joining us. And while I do, I'll go over a couple of quick notes before we get started. First, we will indeed be sending a recording of this webinar to all registrants afterwards, so everyone can look out for that soon. And we'd love to hear from you. We'll be taking some time to answer any questions that you may have at the end of today's presentation. So if you do have any, you can go ahead and submit them at any time via the Zoom's Q&A feature right at the bottom of the interface. We'll also have a poll question during the presentation. For those of you just joining us, welcome. So today our experts will talk about the digital out-of-home landscape, latest capabilities, and best practices to deliver impactful campaigns that deliver stronger results. Here to guide us through a little bit of that today, I am pleased to introduce our speakers from AUDIENCEX, Nick DeRosa, who's our Director of Sales, and Isabella Alvarez, who's our Senior Media Strategist. Nick and Isabella, thank you very much for being here today and hosting this discussion. I know it's going to be great. So with that, I'm delighted to go ahead and hand off the show to you. Before diving in, if you can briefly introduce yourself, including your role and background.
Sure. Thanks, Ricky. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick DeRosa. I'm a Director of Sales here at AUDIENCEX and responsible for some of our high-level agency and client partnerships. My out-of-home acumen comes from previously spending 10 years at Clear Channel Outdoor, the world's largest out-of-home vendor. I wore many hats over my tenure there, but from managing inventory to being an individual sales contributor to eventually managing regional partnerships throughout the Northeast.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today, especially ahead of the upcoming holiday weekend. My name is Isabella. I'm the Senior Media Strategist here at AUDIENCEX. For those who don't know, quickly, AUDIENCEX is a hybrid agency and omni-channel trading desk. I've been here for a little over a year and a half now, working on the strategy team where we lead the media planning process. We work with both clients and agencies on building their go-to-market omni-channel strategies and helping to drive performance as well. So I have a bit of background from big agencies. Prior to my time here, I was at Group M where I did media planning for NBC Universal, specifically MSNBC and NBC News. So again, really appreciate everyone taking the time to dive a little bit into this topic together and excited to talk more about digital out of home today. So we have an action-packed agenda today. Nick is going to start us off by taking a look at the landscape as a whole, and then we'll explore how to kind of take, digital out of home to new heights through different innovative capabilities and strategies, as well as data and attribution. And then we'll be sure to save some time at the end for a little Q&A as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Nick to discuss the landscape as it stands today.
Thanks, Isabella. First, we want to touch on a little 5-mile overview on digital out of home as an advertising medium, its origins, and what it's advanced to today. We're also going to open up a poll to the audience. You should see it pop up on your screen any moment. So I like to start with saying, how is the oldest advertising medium still more relevant than ever? I thought it would be fun to start out with a little bit of a genesis story for billboards. Out of home has its origins in ancient Egypt. Thousands of years ago, they used to use tall stone obelisks to publicize laws and treaties. It wasn't until the invention of lithographic printing in the 1400s that provided the platform for the development of the modern form of out of home. The first billboards were created in the 1830s. These were often large posters with colorful pictures. Traveling circus acts like Barnum and Bailey would use these to promote the features of the upcoming shows in places they were visiting. It wasn't until the 1900s that there was any type of standardization in the industry. This opened up the way for national billboard campaigns such as Coca-Cola and Kellogg's. They were now able to mass produce billboard ads as part of their overall advertising campaigns. In 1931, Coca-Cola changed Santa Claus into the vision that we know today with their holiday billboard. This clearly demonstrated the power and reach of outdoor advertising. Now, digital out of home is pretty much a return to its advertising roots. reimagining the classic ad experience through captivating creatives and streamlined ad delivery. And these days, digital out-of-home isn't limited to just roadside billboards. Ads can also be found running across screens in elevators, gyms, airports, office buildings, essentially wherever you are on your daily journey. Digital out-of-home can be categorized in a few different ways, but it's easiest to think about it as it fitting into two specific segments. There are large format displays. These displays are generally located in public areas and are seen by a large and diverse audience on their way to other destinations. Some examples include digital billboards along highways and displays on city bus shelters or subway stations. Times Square in New York City, Piccadilly Circus in London, Dundas Square in Toronto, Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo. Those are just some examples of places where people go, sometimes just to look at billboards. Then there's digital place-based media. These displays are located in kind of destination locations that people are going to for a specific reason, as opposed to simply passing by as they do with large format displays. Some examples of this would include displays at doctor's offices or elevators in office buildings. Now you have to remember that out of home is a passive medium, meaning you're not being served. It is a high frequency medium that is part of your daily journey. It's not skippable. You can't purchase ad blocking software. It's part of the real estate, part of the geography, a highly visual, highly interactive canvas with the lowest CPM of any traditional media. Here are just some statistics of digital out-of-home at a glance from a recent Nielsen survey. This doesn't even take into consideration the immense amount of potential earned media that comes from an effective out-of-home campaign, essentially a complementary driver of your mobile, social, and digital campaigns. Though consumers spend more than 70% of their waking hours out of their home, brands typically only spend about 5% of their budgets on out-of-home. However, the leaders in their verticals have understood how powerful this medium is, and brands such as Apple and Geico spend a far higher percentage of their media mix on out-of-home. Apple, as an example, spends more than $60 million a year just on billboards. That goes back to the Steve Jobs days, as he was always a huge fan of the simplistic but powerful message he could relay on billboards, and that aesthetic is still used by the brand today. Personally, from working with Apple in the past on their out-of-home campaigns, their MO is to snatch up iconic billboard placements and lock them down indefinitely. Now, digital out-of-home spend is growing rapidly, driven by consumers' increased appetites for travel and experiences outside of the home, especially since the pandemic. Total US out-of-home ad spending in 2022 was $8.6 billion, up 21% from 2021. Out-of-home spend as a whole is anticipated to break $9 billion this year. Digital out-of-home is expected to be up 17% to $2.8 billion, which makes up 31% of that total out-of-home spend. By 2026, digital out-of-home spending is expected to break $4 billion and account for more than 40% of total out-of-home spending. Over the next decade, digital out-of-home is expected to become half, potentially a majority of the total out-of-home market. Now, programmatic digital out-of-home is something that is still relatively young in the digital ecosystem. We know that marketers are ultimately looking for solutions that provide insight into the complete consumer journey and every touch point along that journey. While digital out-of-home is inherently a one-to-many medium, whereas other forms of digital can provide more of that one-to-one connection, the technology has evolved to allow for further convergence between these channels. By leveraging a performance marketing partner like AUDIENCEX that offers insights into different digital channels, marketers are now able to better understand how these channels interact and how exposure against multiple channels impacts consumer behavior. Now, what are some of the benefits of utilizing digital out-of-home programmatically? Well, you can reach consumers at scale in real time with multiple ads per display. You can launch and refresh customized campaigns to reach specific ages, genders, locations, just to name a few. You can enhance the overall customer journey with efficient dynamic updates and extend the reach across known devices. You can leverage user-based location targeting to optimize campaigns based on time of day or traffic patterns, also referred to as day parting. A lot of platforms and DSPs are still fine-tuning their programmatic capabilities when it comes to digital out of home. So what specifically should you look for in a DSP or marketing partner when focusing on digital out of home? Some things I like to call out are that one-to-many impression count and reporting. Can the DSP process the data points that the SSPs pass that are specific to impressions in the out-of-home space? Can they use those for dynamic bidding as well as for reporting in their UI? How about targeting? Can your DSP run the media and creative against things like day parting or day of the week, geo data points that will come in through the bid request? Most importantly, and to really leverage out of home to its full omni-channel potential, is its connectivity to mobile. I'll get into more detail on this in a bit, but can the DSP geofence digital out of home displays and retarget mobile devices or other digital channels? Can the DSP layer on mobile data-driven attribution for, measuring store visitations or any other metrics?
So now that we know a little bit more about the landscape, where digital out of home stands today and how it's grown, we definitely wanted to go over just some capabilities and forward-thinking strategies that we can leverage to help elevate digital out of home for performance. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So starting off strong, we really feel that geo-targeting is really the first step that brands and advertisers need to take in order to truly unlock the power of digital out of home. It helps to enhance relevance by allowing us to customize messaging based on localized context, improves ad efficiency and optimization by only focusing on areas where target audiences are already most likely to be present. And it also helps to minimize media wastage because, we're delivering ads to the right people at the right time, and therefore also achieving a much better ROI. So some of the ways that we're able to do this is by analyzing data like GPS signals, Wi-Fi connections, mobile device data. That way we can kind of precisely pinpoint the location of our audience. And then because of that, we're better able to tailor our messaging to specific regions, cities, neighborhoods, and then even smaller menus that Nick had touched upon earlier, like airports, shopping malls. And we can also retarget people who have seen and walked by our ads. So if you move to the next slide, please. Kind of going hand in hand with this, we can also use this location-specific data to implement dynamic creative and further personalize our content to interests, behaviors, demographics of people in a particular area. So this really helps to take our campaigns to the next level because we're adapting and responding to real-time changes. And these ads can actually change based on factors like weather conditions, the traffic patterns like Nick had mentioned, or even local events, which we'll dive more into in a moment. But we really find that implementing this type of customized content is one of the most impactful ways to captivate audiences, particularly with digital out of home. And by creating these personalized experiences, we're better able to establish that deeper connection with audiences, which of course is ultimately going to lead to increased brand engagement and then consumer loyalty as well. So if you move to the next slide, please. So as I teased out a little bit before, my personal favorite way to leverage digital out of home for performance is by implementing weather responsive ads. So we can actually integrate real-time weather data and automatically adjust our bids based on current weather conditions. So the way that this is done is that, certain weather data providers will offer APIs or data feeds that allow us to access current weather information. So again, this is just a really fantastic way to connect with your audience on that deeper level. So think about, displaying sunscreen ads on a sunny day or promoting cozy hot beverages during chilly weather, allergy medication during periods with, high pollen concentration, which all of us in New York are really feeling at the moment. Weather responsive ads just really create a top tier contextual experience for viewers, and it just doesn't get more relevant than this, in my opinion. So moving to the next slide, please. Another approach we've been seeing more and more is incorporating live content into digital out of home ads. So this brings a sense of urgency and excitement to campaigns, and then also brings an element of real-time relevancy. So again, by integrating those live data feeds, we can showcase things such as live sports scores, stock market updates, social media feeds on digital billboards and screens. A lot of brands are also doing this with countdowns, timers, flash sales, limited time offers. So this is a really cutting edge approach to keeping audiences engaged and informed. And working with AUDIENCEX can help you navigate any of the complexities that are associated with, executing real-time content or any of these strategies, really. Next slide, please. So timing is everything, especially within our industry, as everyone here knows. And that's where time of day digital out-of-home ads really come into play. So for example, during a morning commute and rush hour, we actually have the ability to focus on delivering content that can provide motivation to start the day. We can display news updates, weather forecasts, promotions related to breakfast options or morning routines. And then throughout the day, we can target audiences during lunch breaks by promoting lunch specials, happy hour offers to kind of capture viewers' attentions during their, free time during the day. And then later in the evening, we can tailor messaging to encourage socializing, attending events, dining out, shopping, and then we could even focus on using more vibrant visuals to stand out during those busy periods. Whereas at nighttime, we can promote, nightlife venues, late night dining options, and we can use really attention-grabbing visuals, light effects, motion graphics, or anything that could help make our content stand out in darker surroundings. So again, this is really just a game changer when it comes to reaching audiences, especially with digital out of home, because we can ensure that our approach is aligned with the audience's daily routines and preferences. Next slide, please. So lastly, and perhaps most excitingly, we know, especially in today's landscape, it's essential to create immersive experiences. And at AUDIENCEX, we've been really working to build out our partnerships with companies like Genie AR so that we can better leverage both AR and VR. So for example, integrating camera capabilities through QR codes to explore virtual environments, play games, take quizzes, or even surveys that respond to the user's input and provide real-time feedback. So users are able to interact with the content, reveal additional information about your brand, see animations and objects. So this is a really great way to enhance product demonstrations or offer virtual try-on experiences, but also helpful too if you want to, direct users to specific content or landing pages from a digital screen. So we've really just been loving this and also have been seeing this perform exceptionally well across the board for a few of our clients. So these are just some of the best ways to drive impact with digital out of home and a few examples of the really, really unique progress that we've been seeing with this channel and also how it's been working to better drive performance. So next slide, please. With that, I'll pass it back to Nick to discuss data and attribution.
Thanks. As one of AUDIENCEX's main pillars of future-proofing its tech engine and understanding that digital out-of-home plays an important role in this full funnel and competent omnichannel marketing campaign, we take data and attribution very seriously. In this section, we'll touch on how performance measurement in out-of-home is really being driven by innovation. The question that I hear a lot, or that comes up a lot, is can out-of-home really be looked at as a performance medium, or is it really just a box you check on your media mix? Is it just top of funnel brand awareness, a vanity play, right? The truth is, by pairing and utilizing digital and mobile location data, you are able to take planning, amplification, and measurement of your out-of-home to the next level. This provides insights into consumer mobility, on and offline behavior, and which allows us to better understand and measure exposed out-of-home audiences. Targeting and measurement are both critical. Programmatic buyers expect a variety of targeting mechanisms as well as attribution and specifically ROI. Now, how does location data help brands with their digital out-of-home advertising, both from a targeting and measurement standpoint? Historically, these media locations have only been used to target key markets or POIs, neighborhoods, or zip codes. However, one of the most compelling things to happen in digital out-of-home over the past few years has been the advent and proliferation of this mobile data. Through this anonymous and aggregated mobile data, we can now understand how consumers move throughout the world, including past digital out-of-home displays. With that, we understand the types of consumers we can reach for a more sophisticated behavioral targeting. We can also measure what consumers do after their exposure to a digital out-of-home location through what we refer to as post-exposure attribution. And this is all powered by this data, this persistent location data and device IDs that are deployed in a anonymous, consumer-friendly, and privacy-compliant fashion. Now, how are these audiences actually matched and verified? There's really a fourfold criteria that we use for this. First is viewing distance, which is set by Geopath. Geopath is essentially the governing body for out-of-home impressions. There's the direction of roadway, and specifically the direction that the device is traveling. There's the location signal strength, frequency, recency, and number of signals and devices that it's picking up. And then there's ultimately the digital exposure, basically the exact time and duration that that spot airs, time-stamped to the user's location data. And that's really just a primer on how we leverage this data on the planning side of things. But what about truly measuring the efficacy of it? Does it work? Using the same methodology, AUDIENCEX is able to leverage its data partnerships to measure campaign outcomes to understand the effectiveness of out-of-home. Essentially, exposed consumer behavior or devices are compared to those not exposed to the out-of-home ad. These exposed consumers are then taking an action that we are able to report on to showcase the campaign's influences on a variety of different KPIs. Now, what action are they taking? I've had the pleasure of working on many different brand campaigns utilizing tactics to measure the efficiency of the out-of-home. Some examples would be measuring brand awareness, understanding out-of-home's influence on brand perception, which offers metrics on awareness, recall, and even purchase intent. We can measure store visitation, again, comparing that exposed and unexposed audience behavior. Personally, one of my favorite campaigns that I've worked on was actually measuring app downloads, which were able to tie users directly exposed to the out-of-home to downloading that advertiser's app. My last little teaser here are really some of the most efficient ways to leverage data with your digital out-of-home campaigns. Some examples would be the ability to assess cross-channel learnings by using that exposed out-of-home audience and match it to the customer's data, either with a DMP or other platforms to evaluate performance alongside other media they're running. We can use that same exposed audience and match it to a third-party data set to measure impact beyond directly observed behaviors. And then for some really intricate targeted planning, we can use the client's first-party data to create custom audience segments for optimized out-of-home plans. Lastly, major campaign amplification by retargeting these exposed out-of-home audiences with coordinated mobile, display, and social campaigns to boost that campaign's total impact. And that's all we have today. I'll pass it back off to Ricky if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you, Nick and Isabella. So it's the time for our Q&A section and time. Before we get started, we do want to share the poll results and go through some of that. So on the screen, you should see the poll results. Here, you can see we have majority of attendees here doing both digital and traditional, and also just digital out-of-home. Nick and Isabella, is this something that you see as well with our current customers as well?
Yeah, I would say this is pretty in line with what we see across the board. But, I do think it's important to have an omni-channel approach, just not focusing on one channel, whether it is digital out-of-home or something else. Something that, is really important to us here at AUDIENCEX is having that, omni-channel approach, which we have other webinars on if you'd like to join one of those. But anything else to add, Nick?
No, that was perfect. I second that.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a quarter, of folks are not doing digital out-of-home, so there's definitely some opportunity there. So we do have several questions. Before I dive into the first question, there was a question on sharing the deck, so we'll go ahead and share the deck along with the webinar recording shortly after the webinar. The next question is, how effective have you seen digital out of home with college students or campus?
I could take that. Again, this all ties back to precise audience targeting, right? There are opportunities to have on-site advertising on college campuses, obviously, whether that be in certain buildings or cafeterias or whatever, but it's really about utilizing that audience segment that we talked about, finding college students, whether there be post high school or just starting college, and leveraging the targeting towards those kids.
Great, thank you, Nick. Next question, what kind of minimum budget would you recommend to get started in digital out of home?
I can take that one. So great question. This is kind of a tough one to answer because, of course, it depends on the goals of the specific campaign. And not only that, but also it depends on the location, time of year, available inventory, flighting, types of screens we want to go after. I would say generally speaking, we would recommend at least, around 10K to get started. But again, at AUDIENCEX, we're very flexible and can help you get started and work out a budget that's, feasible and what makes the most sense for the initiative as well.
Great, thanks, Isabella. Next question here. Can you share some thoughts on user-generated content in digital out of home?
Yeah, I can take that. That's actually a really good question. I think using user-generated content, or UGC, can definitely add an element of authenticity and credibility to any programmatic digital out-of-home campaign. It can encourage active viewer participation, engagement with the ad content. It can create a sense of kind of social proof and virality, going viral. Essentially, the chance for earned impressions or earned media, which I referenced previously, and it can influence others to engage and share. Because programmatic digital out of home enables real-time updates, it can allow for that more immediate inclusion of UGC in your campaigns. So definitely a good question.
Great, thanks, Nick. Next question here is, any suggestions on measurement for performance/conversion heavy clients?
I'm sorry, say that last part again.
Yeah, any suggestions on measurement for performance/conversion heavy clients?
Yeah, I could take that as well. Again, it all ties back to what the campaign initiatives are and what we're looking to measure. But again, leveraging other channels and leveraging mobile data in your out-of-home campaign will better show you the actions that those audiences are taking. So let's just say we are measuring store visitation, right? That's the KPI, is getting bodies inside the store. So running an out-of-home campaign, we're able to use the audiences exposed to that out-of-home, retarget them, right? Retarget them with other digital mediums, other digital channels, whether that be social or display. And essentially, we're back talking about this omni-channel approach, right? Hitting users throughout the day, because we understand that consumers now have this fragmented, non-linear journey throughout the day. They're jumping from screen to screen, from device to device. So that billboard or that out-of-home asset is just another extension of another screen or device that they're jumping to, right? So being able to hit the consumer throughout their journey will better drive, again, in this example, we're doing foot traffic. So better drive foot traffic to your store, and we're able to measure that with mobile data.
Great, thank you, Nick. Next question here is, what have you seen as the main tactic for digital out of home with TikTok?
Digital out of home with TikTok.
With TikTok, yeah.
I don't know if I know that.
I don't know if we've seen that yet. I mean,
yeah, I guess it's more.
Do they mean integrating, running TikTok and then digital out of home alongside TikTok?
I think so. Yeah, if you can. It doesn't say in the question, but I feel, that's a good question. How does someone do TikTok with digital out of home? So social and digital out of home.
Yeah, digital out of home pairs well with really any other tactic, including social. You saw in one of the slides that we had earlier, we can actually, include live content such as social media feeds into digital out of home. So that could be a really great way to kind of increase relevancy things of that nature. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, without a doubt. And also we've seen, and this wouldn't be a social example in particular, however, we've seen that a general display or mobile ad paired with an out-of-home campaign will increase those click-through rates by almost tenfold, right? So you look at a TikTok ad, you look at pairing a social campaign with an out-of-home campaign, and you're just kind of boosting both channels.
Great, thank you, Nick. Yeah, definitely. I mean, digital out-of-home works with a lot of other channels and does help with performance. Just want to reiterate one more thing. We will be sharing, for folks joining us a little bit later, we will be sharing the recording and slides, and so you'll be able to catch up on any of the missed discussions here. Okay, so it looks like that is the questions we have received from the audience. If you do have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you, Nick and Isabella, for participating, and thank you everyone for attending today's session. As I mentioned, we'll be sending the recording along with the deck to all the registrants afterwards, so you can keep a lookout for that soon. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here at the email or to Nick and Isabella directly as well. You'll be able to see them on social media as well. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ricky.